On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. We're having an awesome opportunity right now to see and imagine what the world would be looking like right now if Hillary Clinton would have won the election. We're also getting a very good understanding, as I always say, future proves past. One of the big quotes that came out a long time ago was C before D. And a lot of people thought maybe Coates before D class. I always thought D was D class. Well, I think we know for sure what that means now. Trump has led the way. Trump is being a leader in every way under the sun. And one of the things that I think kind of happens, at least the way I imagine it, I imagine him and probably a select handful of people have these conversations with some dark overlord. I don't know, like maybe it's Clinton or something. I don't know. Maybe it's Obama. But I feel like there's some like weird backroom phone calls going on where they're like, look, you do this, then I'll do that. Like there's got to be some sort of communications back and forth. Like certain things are off limits. I think when Trump went after that general that everybody's like, but he was such a scholar and he killed millions of people. Like when he went after him and took down whatever his name was, Soleimani or whatever, when he took him down, there was a huge backlash, I think, from that. And so this has been one of those things where there's a tick for tack. Now, a lot of people just look at this from a very surface level. A lot of people look at this from a very Democrat-Republican level. This is not a Democrat-Republican issue, folks. This is an issue of we either keep our freedom or our country was sold to China, Ukraine, anybody, the highest bidder. Come on in, you can have anything you want, you can have our people, we'll give you bases, and we're going to use you one day to help round up U.S. Americans, especially the armed ones. So there's been this big push, back and forth, back and forth. And I really do think that Trump getting COVID was the last straw. They said C before D. I think they meant COVID before D class. And I think attacking him with the COVID and then a bunch of people around him, to Trump, that was the final straw. That was war. And once he got done with the hospital and he was back in rare form, back at the White House, back making everyone mad as he walked up the stairs and took his mask off outside, just infuriating people, standing there making a very strong statement to the deep state, most importantly. Second most importantly, to all the leaders in all the countries across this great land. And thirdly, to look strong as an American leader to all these people that think this is something that I need to be afraid of and I need to freak out about. This guy's leading us. And right now we've got a bunch of people that are willing to sell this country to anybody, and this D class is catching them up. We got a lot of new Q posts leading where we left off, 4807. One thing we're going to hear a lot of in this particular set of posts, let's see what happens. And to me, that's one of those things that you always say that when you want to egg somebody on, right? Like, okay, you think you're getting away with all that. All right, well, let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Why, do you know something I don't? I don't know. Let's just see what happens. You say that when you kind of got that chip on your shoulder, and at the same time, you know, the guy knocks it off. You got this big, huge, giant Brutus behind you that's going to turn things around. So he's sharing this post from Senator Ron Johnson. This is huge stuff that's coming out. It's Maria Bartiromo, that lady in Fox. Really good. I like her. Weekend lady. And she had a little chit-chat here with Senator Ron Johnson. Let's check it out, because I think this one's worth the watch. There's a couple of these we're not going to watch, but this one's pretty solid. Let's check it out.
Well, so let me disagree a little bit with Chairman Graham, where he said he's very pleased with the production out of the FBI. I am not. Let me just give you one example. Here's a document we got from the General Services Administration. You can see that it's an email, and everything's presented except for the very bottom. They've redacted the mobile phone number of the person writing the email. Here's the exact same email we got from the FBI. You see something different here? Everything is redacted. And that, we're supposed to get thousands of pages from I had to finally subpoena the FBI. They are on their second extension. Everything is due by, I think, the 30th of September, and that's the kind of information we get. It's non-information. We have to fight over redacting the same documents that we get from other agencies. So I am not happy at all with the document production we've gotten out of Director Wray and the FBI. Not even close.
You know what? I'm really glad you put up those documents because this is something that I have heard from day one for 3+ years. When Ratcliffe was in Congress, Nunes in Congress, yourself in the Senate, you've been demanding documents to ensure that you understood what took place, and they will not get you the documents. They sit on documents and make it incredibly hard for you to prove the point that you know is true, and that is that it was a sham investigation into President Trump, and there's a ton of wrongdoing here. Do you think you're going to get the documents? I mean, is this Christopher Wray? Why is Christopher Wray still in charge of the FBI when he is overseeing these agents sitting on things?
His job should be to restore the credibility and integrity of the FBI, and the only way you do that is through exposure. But the other point I have to make, Maria, when we finally do get these classified sections redacted or unredacted when they become declassified, you look at what information you have and you have to ask yourself the question, what national security interest was at stake here? Why was this ever redacted? The answer is almost always because it embarrassed the agency or it embarrassed a powerful person. That is not the reason to classify information. It's certainly not the reason to keep the truth from the American public. And that's all I've been trying to do is I've been trying to reveal the truth. Another important point to make. You know, yes. I've been accused of peddling Russian disinformation. There is no Russian disinformation in our 87-page report. The press report on it, and I'm calling on the press. You were duped. You were leaked false information. You should not protect those sources that leaked you false information. It should be your journalistic duty to basically tell the American people who provided you false information that resulted in this 2 or 3 year national nightmare because of the false narratives that you carried the Democrats' water on.
Do your job, media.
I like how they call it like, I'm calling on the press to, talk about your bad sources and to reveal these things. You talk about the press like they have like some sort of credibility, like, they should do the right thing because that's what they're all about. But I think we're finding out that that's not true. The press is definitely not on our side. But yeah, Senator Ron Johnson obviously asking for information, got pretty much nothing back, which, by the way, wouldn't it be funny? Seriously, this is how I think redacting should be. Like you just, everything's redacted except like the, from, but, over, right? Like just one word here and there. Oh my God, that's practically what they gave us. It's hilarious to me and in a very not funny kind of way, right? But yeah, these are the games we're playing. Right? They've said for 4 years, basically, that Russia, impeach. Come to find out, they never were able to produce any actual evidence. And come to find out, now we've got Haskell that's blocking stuff. We've got Wray who's blocking stuff. We've got all these people that are blocking stuff. But as we're finding out, and certainly after Trump basically declassed everything, just recently, like today, everything's been declassed, or yesterday, whenever it was. Everything has been declassed around this whole investigation. So a lot of things are going to start to come out, and it's very, very interesting. Post 4808 is kind of more of a fun thing, but keep charging Midnight Rider. Apparently someone caught this, one of our night watchers, if you will. They were pointing out the fact that the plane's identity was called Trust 17, which is, that's pretty cool, you got to admit, right? Just, I'm sure there had to have been a joke there. I'm not sure who named that, but that's still pretty funny. 4809, we've got another Fox News politics story here about DNI Brennan. So again, let's see what happens. It's like, how else can you call that out, right? Like, what else is he saying? But essentially, this is that whole thing that CIA director obviously knew all about this. He briefed President Obama. I think most of us have heard this ad nauseum, frankly, at this point. But now, whoa, the handwritten notes are coming out. Yep, coming out. So again, not a whole lot's in here, but we did see basically we're going to additional insight into Russian something because he can't read his writings, alleged approved from Hillary Clinton, proposed something for some sort of ploy to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up scandals, something or other. He's got really bad penmanship. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying here. Fortunately, someone's been able to type it out. But as you can see, a whole lot of information's been redacted, minus some names here. So they think maybe JC was Comey. Susan might have been Susan Rice. Dennis was Dennis McConey or something like that. McCono, getting his name wrong, but something like that. So again, a lot of things are coming out, but what we got here is the memo from the CIA. And oddly, within this memo of the CIA, it's like, look, you can't share this anywhere. You can't post this up on any of our internal sites. You can't give this to legal. You can't give this out to anybody that's outside of this compartmentalized little section. Essentially, this is very specific information that if it went to anybody, it might kind of show how we do our sources, how our sourcing happens. Now, the irony of all of it is we might see that your sourcing is completely phony, that you actually lie, that you say one thing and then have another actually happen. But apparently, per FBI verbal request, the CIA provided the below examples of information the Crossfire Hurricane Fusion Cell has gleaned to date. So there was an exchange discussing U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of private email server. And according to open sources, Guccifer 2.0 is an individual or group of hackers whom U.S. officials believe is tied to Russian intelligence services. Also per open sources, Guccifer 2.0 claimed credit for hacking the Democratic National Committee this year. So that's about all that came out of that whole Crossfire Hurricane. Other than Trump being vilified, not a whole lot coming out about Trump, is there? I mean, yeah, Russia seems to be involved, but kind of almost seems more from the Hillary side from what the documents are saying. Now, I don't want to read into it, but it does say Hillary, not Trump. Again, probably reading into it. I'm sure I am. I'm sure it's like something in between those words that I'm missing. 4810. Let's see what happens. All right, let's see what he's talking about here. So this D-class memo, CIA feared Clinton was stirring up this false Russian collusion narrative. Now, this is a pretty long thing between Nunes and this John Solomon guy. It's decent. It's not bad. I'll be honest, but for the sake of how many other posts there are, I'm going to kind of forego it. Just this thing's going to end up being 45 minutes long, maybe, as it is anyway. But the Director of Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, on Tuesday has declassified 2 documents showing President Obama's CIA feared in summer 2016 that Hillary Clinton was, quote, stirring up a false Russian collusion to identify or to vilify Donald Trump and distract her from her own controversies heading into the election. Now, I want to spell this out really, really clearly for people. This isn't that Brennan knew about Hillary. This is that the CIA, through their sources, found out that Hillary was doing this behind the curtains. So CIA Brennan, technically doing the right thing, said, I probably should bring this up to the President of the United States. As it's been stated, for something to go to the President of the United States, it has to be major stuff. You don't just waste the President's time. He's playing golf, he's playing solitaire, he's got a lot going on. You go to him when it is serious. So Brennan apparently felt that this was a serious thing. He went to Obama. Obama apparently knew about it. He didn't do anything about it. And as it turns out, it seems that they went with it, didn't it? Because the whole entire thing that Hillary was brewing up, using the Steele dossier and all of that, is what got used, which then in turn got used to get FISA warrants 4 times, all 4 of which we've now found are erroneous and crap, like shouldn't have happened. Certainly the last 3 should definitely not have happened. The first one, all right, even though it shouldn't have, and there's evidence to suggest that, it's a little more wishy-washy maybe. But outside of that, nailed. And so again, all of this is being shown to all of us. And again, Brennan's bringing this to a point. Now, was he in on it? Basically, yeah, but this is a lot of information that is coming out. And Obama, it definitely went all the way to the top. This information is being declassed as fast as Ratcliffe can draw dark lines through stuff. I'm sure he's going through those pens like they probably are smoking by the time he gets done with it. 4811, got another post here. Information warfare, to say the least. Now, we've seen this one before, but yep. Facebook's banning QAnon across its platforms. One thing that seems to be common, folks, and I don't know, we're going to find out how this all plays out because any one of us could fall for this or fall into this, but who knows. One thing to really keep in mind, folks, ever talking about doing anything violent is not okay. Violence is never okay. Violence is never okay done by anybody. It's not okay. So make sure anything that you're doing on Facebook, make sure it's not somehow accidentally cross-promoting violence if you wish to be relevant in these discussions. Because again, it's very important that we play by the rules as best we can, even though the other side doesn't have to. I get you. But we've got, a really teeny window that we're all trying to get through. So let's just, do our best. But yeah, It's getting serious. We're getting down to the last month. This is when I think a lot of us were expecting to hear more of these types of stories. Now, yeah, it should upset people. Yeah, it should get people kind of riled up a little bit, I would imagine. And so this is one of those places where peaceful protests are certainly welcome. And I think there's a lot of things, reaching out to your Congress members and senators and all that kind of stuff and basically saying, hey, I think this censorship is not okay. And they have to take note. I mean, they might ignore you, but when 1,000 people call in, that starts to add up. And that also starts to mean, ooh, I'm not going to get reelected if I keep this nonsense up. Something to keep in mind. Post 4812. Okay, this is kind of why I use this as the starting image. It's one thing I kind of want to point out. Trump was a multi-billionaire, right? So this guy's a multi-billionaire, and a lot of people like to say that that's a bad thing for him. And I get why, because rich people ultimately, are more worried about themselves or more worried about getting richer as the general rule goes. Now, it's not 100% true by any means, but whatever. But what is interesting is most politicians on the left, certainly, maybe come into politics being reasonably poor, and in politics tend to do okay, and then after politics seem to do really, really well. So politicians tend to do well, business owners tend to do well, yada, yada, right? And it seems like most of these upper echelon people are really supporting the deep state, right? They support these tech companies. They support these news companies. They support like all of this information warfare that we're going through, for the most part, is owned by wealthy people. So the reason they hate Trump, the billionaire, one, because he's wealthy enough to not need them. Now, he does and he doesn't, but ultimately, he's wealthy enough to not need the deep state. He can kind of do things without them. That they hate. So he can't be controlled. Two, he doesn't seem to be morally inferior like a lot of politicians tend to be. They tend to be very self-centered in general and figure no one's ever going to catch them. Kind of how most people that are like that, think that they are the center of their own universe. They don't think anyone else is smart enough to catch them, and they usually get caught. That's kind of how it plays out. Now, when you've got a bunch of people that are hiding it from everybody else, then yeah, you can get away with all sorts of crazy stuff because you're in the crazy club, right? You go inside and you get a little secret handshake, and then you walk through the doors and, you're in Club 33 or whatever the heck. So Trump gave up everything. He truly did. He gave up everything, and supposedly his net worth's gone down like $1.5 billion or something. Now, maybe some of that's been spent, some of that's been lost because he's not finagling deals anymore for the company. It's his kids, who are probably really good, but probably not quite as good as Pops. Who knows? But he gave up everything. He knew his life and the lives of his family would forever change. He knew and knows, and that's target bold, he knows the consequences. He knows what he got into. He knows what he stepped into. He is a man who had everything. Why do you think he did it? Now, I want to say, because a lot of people are like, so he can get richer. That's a simple answer, and okay, I'll give that to you. But I would like you to step back from this for a second and allow me to say, I think what he realized is that if we let the other side win, none of us will ever have freedom. None of us will ever be able to do what we want. None of us will be able to have the level of life that we've kind of grown accustomed to in this wonderful land where we have a constitution and freedom. He knew that was at stake. He was probably in touch and in communications with people that generally, like Q, know a lot of information that we don't. He's probably some sort of intelligence insider. Don't know who he is, but a lot of the information seems to check out so far. So Trump seems to have kind of been aware of what was going on, and I think made some sacrifices for himself. Sure, I'll give you that. But I also think he made sacrifices for you and for me so we could have a better life. So your kids and my kids can have a better life. So my parents and your parents can have a better life, even though I should have pointed differently. Trump has done a lot to try to help us and his family and himself and a lot of other people, probably friends of his. Something to keep in mind, I think. Post 4813, how close did we come to losing it? Seriously, if you think about the way I like to look at this is, it's funny. It's like Obama was getting out of the White House. So, right, he had 300 of seats that needed to be filled, court seats, right, around the states. He had Supreme Court stuff. People were definitely going to go. Ruth Bader was right around the corner. He kind of left open a lot of stuff. And they had no belief whatsoever that Hillary was ever going to lose. In fact, he was even supporting her decision to do this crazy make-up story about Trump. And it's kind of like the parents came home a night early and they showed up at night while you were having a party with all of your friends and all the paraphernalia is lying around and all sorts of crazy stuff's happening in the house, and you didn't think they were ever going to be there and see it. So you were a little cavalier and you got caught, and the punishment was horrible. That's where we are right now. They got caught with their pants down. They got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. They got caught doing the deed, and there's no way for them to turn it around. That's how close we came. Somehow we managed to either secure the election so they couldn't cheat, or literally Trump managed to rouse up enough support to where he legitimately won. I hope that's the case. I truly do. I hope that's the case, because you think they would have been able to make the popular vote a little better. But that was how close it came. She won the popular vote, but not even close on the Electoral College. So what if she got in? What if she got 3+ Supreme Court justices like Donald Trump did? What if she got these 300+ judges around all these states to then pass all these crazy laws? I want to point out once again, one of the most crazy, non-friendly Second Amendment states in this country is California. There's others, but we're definitely up there in the top. We now, because of Trump, have two justices that have been put in by Trump, two constitutionalists, two of three, which means that our Ninth Circuits are now starting to go a little more pro-Constitution. A lot of crazy things are starting to happen in this state. That could have been Hillary, and imagine the crazy laws they could have passed. What if the rogue elements remained, like plus more were added, right? These rogue elements, it could be anything like Antifa, it could be all this other crazy stuff for sure. But then they're also talking about all these moles they had within all these government agencies, FBI, CIA, NSA, state, DNI, White House, IRS, DHS, ICE, WHO, CDC, ... fill in blank, fill in alphabet soup here. What if our military remained financially starved like it was when Trump took office? What if foreign backers continued to control Americans' policies, which they kind of sort of still are? What if our borders remained open? What if China was given the keys? Hey, here's the keys, just help yourself, take what you want. What if, again, fill in blank, where was this going to go from there? North Korea, were they going to launch something? We were going to blame them for it? Was Iran going to just keep getting pallets of money and life was going to be good while they still managed to make weapons of mass destruction, smuggle them to people that would then try to use them against Israel? I mean, again, the whole weapons of craziness were going around. But now it seems peace deals have been signed. I wonder why. I wonder if it's like because the evil people no longer have their fingers on that trigger, on that Hezbollah trigger, right? All those things that have happened in Beirut, those multiple explosions in multiple locations, a lot of crazy stuff is being manufactured in Beirut. No longer, I don't think. So again, this is not about Republican versus Democrat. I really, really want to state that. It's very important to me. I love it. The people on the right tend to be constitutional, freedom-loving, and all that. But I don't want you to think for one second we ain't got no deep state people in the right. Yes, we do. There are definitely still some deep state schmucks. Mitt Romney jumps out always. A couple others, but we'll leave it there for now. And we'll see if people change their mind because they have the opportunity. But I think people are going to be called out soon. And that is what we're kind of starting to see. 4814. So why are we being censored? Think about it. Like if it's just a conspiracy theory, why are people allowed to talk about flat earth? Why are people allowed to talk about Bigfoot? Why are people allowed to talk about UFOs? Why are people allowed to talk about John F. Kennedy? Why are people allowed to talk about 9/11? Well, you're not really actually, right? Like there's certain things that, no, you can't talk about that. Don't say it, right? So that's where we're at in this wonderful world. But why? Think about it. Why? What is so, I mean, if someone's got a crazy idea, like the sky is yellow, and you're like, it's blue, and they're like, no, it's yellow, and you're like, all right, whatever, crazy person, right? Like, all right, I don't want to censor you. All right, you can go around thinking it's yellow, man. Have fun. Have a ball. Maybe it does look yellow to you. I don't know, whatever, right? Who are we to say? So we don't censor. They do. Because they don't like anything that starts to get close. Like they've talked about frequently during war. World War II, planes would fly over and you'd always see those little black poofs. And what they were is explosions. They called it flak. And what they do is they shoot up a cannon, basically like a giant-ass firework. They shoot it up, and at certain altitudes, bam, they explode, and there's all this debris that kind of rains out from them. It's like a big, nasty grenade that goes off. And if you have a plane anywhere near it, it tends to do damage to planes. It'll cut fuel lines, break hydraulics, like a lot of bad things would happen. The only time you ever got flak is when you were over the target. They didn't just start shooting flak at you a long time beforehand. No, they shot flak at you when you were over the target. So when they attack means you are over the target. That means that this Q thing, conspiracy, whatever we want to call it, is over the target. They can say we're crazy. They can name it whatever they want. They can talk about how we talk about eating babies and crazy stuff like that. Fine, if that's what you want to think. If you want to yell, the sky's yellow, all right, more power to you. It's yellow. But that's not what Q's about. It's about one-tiered system. It's about not having these people that can get away with doing crazy stuff. It's about stopping the coup in our government. It's about making sure the Constitution still matters. That's what it's about. It's about maintaining freedom. So why are we being condemned by Congress? Obviously, that guy that's all into promoting pedophilia, he's not promoting it. He supported it. Well, I forget his name. McCowan, maybe? Anywho, he's also the one that authored the bill to block QAnon. It's just a funny little conspiracy, I think. But this, again, that goes back to the book 1984 and the idea of thought crimes, right? Yeah, I was thinking of doing something, so, you should arrest me. I just had a bad thought. That's almost where we're at. Was that Minority Report, the one with Tom Cruise, right? Where they'd bust you before you even broke the law because they knew you were going to? Like, wow. And if you think about it, the left and the deep state, they love that kind of movie. They're like, yes, that is our ideal situation. We think you're bad. We're going to arrest you. Doesn't even matter. We can say we got technology and master, blah, blah, blah. It looked in the future and it said you were going to do this. And you're like, how would I? I don't even know those people. Doesn't matter. You're going to meet them at some point, apparently, because you did it. We're arresting you. You did it 10 years from now, so we're going to make you do 10 years of time before you even do it. It's like, well, how can I get in trouble for something I haven't done? But they want you to. What happens when people are no longer allowed to think freely? And this is really where it's at. You're not allowed to question things. You're not allowed to, it's what they're talking about, challenging authority, or you're no longer able to fight back the only way we have, which is the First Amendment, right? The First Amendment really covers kind of a whole bunch of important stuff. Freedom of speech, freedom to protest peacefully, and freedom of religion. Very important things in our little world, right? So why do those things matter? And why, when they are able to shut down that amendment specifically, and if you think about how COVID's shut down the religious aspect and how censorship is now occurring and how protests don't seem to have to be peaceful anymore. Well, they do if you're on the right. If you're on the left, oh my hell, you can do whatever you'd like, apparently. It doesn't seem to matter, which is weird. And then they'll celebrate it on the news. They'll stand in front of burning buildings and say, this almost peaceful protest. What? No. Shouldn't even put the word peaceful in there. It's not. It might have started that way, but it certainly isn't right now. So anyway. 4815, Donald J. Trump, at the real Donald Trump. I fully authorized the total declassification of any and all documents pertaining to the single greatest political crime in American history, the Russian hoax. Likewise, the Hillary Clinton email scandal. No redactions. Boom. Now, a lot of the times they do the redactions. Let me tell you why. Typically, because it might be bad for the agency. So they don't like to show that stuff because, that works against making people trust the FBI. But right now, nobody trusts the FBI. So disclosure is the only way we're going to get out of that. And then two, it tends to sometimes be embarrassing for certain people. Yeah, we're past those days too. I don't care if you're embarrassed. If you're embarrassed because of something horrible you did, good. You need to be tarred and feathered. You need to come out and face the music. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Time to fess up. Time to suck it up. Time to take it like a person. And let's move forward. But yeah, we've got Donald Trump there, of course, posting. I think this is the original post he did. And again, right back to Red October, which again is funny if you think about it. Wasn't it October 2nd? And I don't know in the movie. I should have rewatched the movie if that has any significance in the movie itself. I don't know. I don't know if that's when maybe the sub took off or what. It doesn't matter. It might be totally wrong. But apparently, Red October, the 2nd of October, is when Trump, I believe, got the COVID, right? Which means the attack was on. They probably knew it was coming. I'm sure their ears were ringing, if you will, and they knew that some stuff was going to happen. They were probably doing everything in their power to keep it from happening. But most likely, Trump was probably taking stuff beforehand that were going to help no matter what, and then having some of the best medications that exist on the planet. He seems to be heading in a great direction. So again, he's gonna let all these documents be declassed. So when all of these documents are finally declassed, says Paul Sperry, and all the redactions have been removed from the reports, the nation will see that the FBI and CIA not only knew the Russian collusion, quotes, collusion alleged against Trump were a political dirty trick, but that they were in on it. They were supporting it. They were actually helping keep it alive. That's not cool, right? All of these alphabet agencies are supposed to be here to support and help us. But when they get politicized and I don't think, again, it's not Republican, Democrat, when the deep state takes them over, yeah, it's lights out for us. And then all the deep state players are just going to continue to help push that whole agenda. 4816, think drop today regarding Senator Johnson, regarding those redactions, the GSA versus FBI. And I've got like an old version of that here, but the General Services Administration, the Office of Inspector General. Some issues with bribes and some other stuff. And anyway, conspiracy, blah, 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 right? A whole bunch of stuff going on with that. That's what they're trying to get the redactions around, opened up so they can see what all was going on around there. So again, let's see what happens. Yeah, think POTUS today, and no redactions. His comment, do you see what happened? Now, people are obviously panicked. People are freaking out. People are going to call him names. People are going to say this is unpresidential. Everything under the sun. Why? Flak. Boosh, boosh, boosh. We're over the target, folks. Bomb doors open. So a lot of crazy stuff. Again, one thing, C before D. That was a big thing, and I really do think it's COVID before D class. Finally made sense, Coates and all that. I'm just like, who are all the C people? Like, everybody was guessing. That's what's so fun about the Q stuff. It's like a crossword puzzle that you oftentimes don't get the answer until they give you the answer, and you're like, oh, shucks, so close on that one. Not really. 4817. So, another post, and again, he's just been firing these things off like crazy here, but as of January 15, 2020, this seemed to be a really big day in history. 3 major things of significance happened on that day. First, USA-China Phase 1 deal was executed, and that was truly a bad day for China. Number 2, impeachment articles released by Pelosi as she walked them over, hand-delivered them, because you didn't want anything to happen, probably didn't trust the post office. I don't know. That would have been interesting, right? You can play that back later. But anyway, she hand-walked them over to the Senate to attack the POTUS. So there was a coordinated, planned, specific attack by the House via Nancy Pelosi, via walking those over, plus the phase deal. So Trump was kind of doing his thing and helping the United States and really looking out for us. And at that same time, from behind, he gets some daggers in the back. The third thing was the first COVID-19 case that landed in Seattle-Tacoma Airport, or SeaTac as it's commonly known as. This was the attack, again, versus the POTUS. Were they trying to make things worse? Mathematical probability that the same day all 3 of these seriously major events happened. Totally could be a coincidence. I definitely, I'll give you that. But you got to really think about the percentage of the chance that all 3 of these things happen on the exact same day. I mean, China's even in a different hemisphere. Come on, man, work with me here. Anyway, who benefited the most? Well, Democrats for sure, deep state, better way to say it. China for sure. Ukraine against Russia, they've got that whole thing going on. So a lot of people seem to benefit from it. And I think, again, this is the important part. A lot of us have likened this to a biblical time. I truly think it is. Literally. Like for 20, 30 years, I've been like, something major. I'm here for something. I don't know. Man, for the first time in my life, I feel like I finally understand why I'm alive, why I'm here. Evil's around us, folks. This is what we're here for. This is what we trained for. It's game day. It is game day. Game on. The cars have left. Let's bring the nets back out on the street. Let's start it, right? Let's get going. This is awesome. 4818, threats, bribes, and blackmail, all being deployed at unseen levels all over the place. And the dirty tricks are being caught more and more and more. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize the whistleblowers, the safety they can have as a whistleblower going to certain people within this current administration because of the deep state and because they know they can trust this administration to help stop this deep state movement. So again, all this dirty laundry that's going on in D.C., there's so much blackmail. In fact, it really made me wonder. Again, I'm just speculating. I don't think it's true. So I'm going to say that up front, but it's just a fun thought, right? But it kind of was like, what if the Clintons created Epstein? I don't know when Epstein finally got the island and all that, but didn't that seem like a really groovy way to get a lot of control? Now, I know some people have said Mossad. Maybe. I mean, it's to that level. Millions and millions and millions of dollars were at work here. And obviously you would need foreign nationals are very, very wealthy, like Saudis and stuff like that. People with deep, 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 deep pockets. But it just made me wonder. I'm like, because who really did benefit from all this? And who seems really, really, really scared about Ghislaine Maxwell being in jail? And oddly, what was it? James Comey's daughter was in charge of the Epstein case. And now James Comey's daughter's husband is going to be handling the Ghislaine Maxwell case. James Comey's directly tied to Hillary Clinton. We've seen all of that shown to us. Interesting little circle of life that we've got going on. Like Lion King when he was holding up Simba. I kind of feel like that's almost like Hillary Clinton was holding up Epstein in her evil, wicked, horned, hoofed arms. So yeah, threats, blackmail, all that bad stuff. We got a lot of people with like beliefs out there throwing around a lot of dark secrets. And believe me, some of you guys, I don't ever want to get into the craziest of the crazy. I mean, I love it. I'm fascinated by it, but it's oftentimes a little too much for people. But some of the ceremonies, some of the rituals, there's some really weird stuff that happens out there. It's just strange. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been, quote, tied to it. You got that thing up in Northern California that happens with the big owl ceremony thing. And the owl is very symbolic for Satan, basically. So I don't know. There's some weird stuff, folks. I don't understand it. I don't pretend to understand it. Certainly have followed it a lot and I'm fascinated by it, but I have, no idea what the hell crazy stuff is going on out there. But again, we'll see what happens. All right. Okay. 4819, how many people in D.C. does Clinton have dirt on? Seriously, and this is the quote that made me really thinking about that Epstein thing. It's like, how many? And how many people in D.C. does Clinton have had on payroll? Hard to think, huh? Yeah, Seth Rich, obviously, it's one less. That's too soon, I think. It was. Dark secrets? Yeah, there's some nasty stuff going on with these people. Nasty stuff going on with these people. 4820, the Clinton Foundation, White House for sale. Like when I read this, like the image I got in my mind was like having there was actually an early James Bond movie that was James Bond was showing up and there was weapons being sold and it was up on this mountaintop and all this crazy stuff. But it kind of felt like that on the White House. Like, I got surface to air missiles and you got like a Humvee and you got like an F-22 Raptor. Like, and they all got like price tags on them. Like as is, leasing options available. See Clinton Foundation inside. So again, it just felt like they were selling it all off as quick as they could. 4821, what happens if Biden became, by the way, Q, when did you get the caps lock stuck? All right, I was curious, because it seemed like it just kept going. What happens if Biden became POTUS, knowing he, through Hunter +2, took massive amounts of bribes to change or look the other way, you know what I mean? Or a little money on the back. Oh, yeah, no, it's beautiful. I like that bridge you're building over there. And then suddenly he's got like $1 million in his hand. And he's going to look the other way regarding U.S. policy towards China. Essentially being favoring towards China. We're going to keep giving you ridiculous money and ridiculous trade and keep pushing all of our manufacturing out to you so we can slowly push everybody down into more of a poverty type class. And then they're going to do whatever we want because we control them. They control you with lack of money or by offering you, food and food stamps and things like that. So it's a horrible situation. So what would China own and control in the White House if Hillary would have won? Something to think about. What happens if Biden became POTUS, knowing he, through Hunter +1, took massive amounts of bribes to change, look the other way, U.S. policy towards Ukraine, in favor of Ukraine? Would Ukraine own and control the White House? Now, again, I think they've got so much dirt on Biden, I don't think there's any way the guy can ever get out from underneath this. And, Biden, he might be a nice guy, he might not. I don't know. I feel bad he lost his son and all that. But fact of the matter is, I think you dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, as they say in Batman. It's not a good thing, and you got to pay the price. When you dance the Pied Piper song, you got to pay the Pied Piper price, because the Pied Piper pecks of pickled peppers. It's just true. 4823, only the illusion of democracy. Seriously, because that's what would happen with Biden. That's what would happen with this deep state rule. There would be this illusion that you had people in power that actually cared about you, and then the cameras go beep and turn off, and they're like, I hate those people. I freaking hate them. Kind of like there was that one video where you could see Obama looking over to Michael Obama and mouthing the words, all this for a flag? Or I think Michael was maybe saying that to Barack, but either way, one of the two, we're mouthing it to the other, and and Barack was like, yeah, like crazy. Like all these people like love the stupid flag, and it's like, yeah, we love our country too. Seriously. Not cool. So only the illusion for we the people. Everyone else kind of get the second tier, that top tier. They know what's up. That bottom tier, no, hey, we got a constitution and we got laws, and no, the politicians care about us. You keep giving them money. Raise the taxes, I say. So for the first time in a long time, our POTUS stands with and for the people. All assets are deployed. That's why he, as a billionaire, did it. And that's why I think, honestly, we're super lucky that we had a billionaire that was willing to do this for us. Trump was a billionaire. He didn't need to do this. He didn't need to do this for you. He didn't need to do this for me. He didn't need to. He was a billionaire. He was a billionaire. That's 1,000 million. And he had like 6 billion. So that's like 6,000 million. That's a lot of millions. That's a lot of money. I don't think he did it to get richer. That's like what Bezos would do. I think he did it because he cares. He cares about us, he cares about his family, he cares about his grandkids, and he cares about this country. And as he says in that one really awesome video, it's like 5 minutes long, I hope you've seen it. It's a very cool Trump video. But he basically says, this country has been very good to me and my family, and so I felt it was time to give back. I think that is one of the most beautiful statements he's ever made. And it really won me over. So we'll see if we might have 55 more posts here. We'll see. 48-23 was the last one. Nice. So he finally chilled for a few. Again, a big picture's being painted, folks. If Biden wins, Hillary's plans go into place. If Biden wins, a lot of things are going to stop happening for this country. Now, I will say Trump's already done significant damage to them, but they're going to pack the courts if they get back into play. They're going to take back control. Any of these state Supreme Courts will get packed as well. Any place where Trump has had any effect, they would go ahead and just add more seats and fill it with deep state people. Instantly, you're out of a vote. Trump has done us a great service. We've still got to get one more term out of him because we need to finish what we started. We need to finish. The arrests actually need to start happening. And as we're seeing, D-class is occurring. I know people think it's not happening fast enough. You've really got to let these things play out. There were extremely deep roots that were all over the place when it came to how heavily involved and entrenched the deep state was. They were literally this close to taking over this country. Now, this, I think, was planned with Trump and everything. But again, this has been nothing but a very, very tough challenge. And essentially, folks, game is on. This is the time to get out and support people however you can. I've got a PayPal link below if you'd love to be that way. If not, just by subscribing, liking, sharing. My videos, other people's videos, is one of the best things you can do to help us keep this whole message going. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.